please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real before the marching is done. They know side by side you can match their stride to the drum beat and the brass, but they're not impressed with you unless you can match their stride in class. This may not sound too diplomatic, but I cannot be more emphatic as I tell you, it's problematic when you do less than your best. Especially when it's because you put your brilliance on pause for the mere peer applause it draws from a so-called friend doing less. Quit playing, I'm saying, you know that you are great, and we know it, so show it. Don't make our heroes wait. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. For those of you who already do the things that make us proud, your nation in appreciation says thanks to you out loud. Your schoolmates should imitate the way you tap your potential. Let me try to convince them why their effort is essential. Our men and women in uniform, before, during, and after Desert Storm, always perform above the norm, anywhere and everywhere on the planet. They need to follow our heroes' lead, but they cannot lead if they cannot read. Allow me, please, to plant this seed. Don't take freedom for granted. I'm serious, I'm furious to see U.S. schools behind. Remove the clatter, it's just a matter of our making up our minds. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. We believe in you, warriors protect you to do what you must to rise. Please do your part. Please start before another warrior dies. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. They sacrifice for you. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Please.
Good afternoon and welcome to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, the academic patriotism program that is dedicated to veterans and serious secondary scholars. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now here is our host, civilian urban educator, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very much. That is not only our announcer, DeQuay Wilson, but we refer to her as a true peach. She is the producer, engineer, announcer, and co-host, DeQuay Wilson, and she played our entire theme song for you. We have a very, very, very special guest this afternoon. But before I introduce this very special guest, allow me to offer a very special congratulations to 38 years of marriage. Louis George Walker and Mildred Walker. All right. My dear brother, Louis George Walker, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Amen.
This gentleman actually founded KUAW.org. And here at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, he is our technical genius and works with young people from robotics to drones.
All right.
And his name is Louis George Walker, so we thank him for that. And my dear brother Louis George Walker, you will be happy to say thank you to our very special guest this afternoon for his service and for his continuing to serve.
Amen.
His name is Cortez Jackson. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It is just such an honor, and the interesting thing about a program like this is how much we can discuss about things that are going on now and portend for the future, But if you don't mind, would you please give us some background?
Absolutely. Even before the broadcast started, we kind of ventured back, even in the place that where it's being broadcasted. I actually attended school here. I am a native of Kansas City, born in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I'm a product of Kim and John Salter, Kim Jackson. I have lived here in the city under great leaders from Leeds,
Yes,
Dunbar area, all the way to the east side of what this school is placed in.
Yes.
That's been my main growing grounds here on the east side. I've seen it fall to the wells of crack cocaine
My God.
and the destruction from Van Brunt all the way over.
Yes.
And when I left this place, it was under God's grace that allowed me to be transplanted here and be placed in the Air Force. I accumulated degrees as well as years under my belt of service, been around the world, but nothing pulled at my heart more than coming back home and trying to cultivate and be tangible to the success of rebuilding this area.
Outstanding.
So I really don't have any big accolades of myself and certifications, but more so a passion to be here and be tangible to whatever I can to serve my community.
Accolades for the passion. And when I hear you talk about Leeds, I know a few years ago I was in attendance at a service where Brother Alvin Brooks was a speaker there, and he has background in
Absolutely.
that area.
Absolutely.
And we do have an interest as it relates to that service, and you mentioned around the world. And I want to put it in context. Oh, by the way, and KUAW, I should do this every week right up front. Let it be known, I am a civilian. So in as much as we pay tribute to veterans and active duty, I don't want anybody to get confused and think that I am one who has or continues to serve. So from my perspective, when I have the privilege to speak with someone who indeed has served, please tell us a little bit about where and whether or not there's something in particular in your service that you remember because of how great it was, how challenging it was, how daunting it was. How about Cortez Jackson, serviceman?
Absolutely. Many moments that were life-changing. And to pull from just a few would be a travesty. But some of the most impactful ones is some of the deployments that I had, and you start to realize my very first deployment was in the year of 2000. The longest deployment that I have. I joined the service in 1997.
Yes, sir.
And that's when I left Kansas City, Missouri. My first base was Dover, Delaware. And then from there, I learned my trade and really honed in and started becoming that airman that was starting to assimilate into the service. As a young individual, I had a son early on, and I took custody of him at my first base when he was right at 2 years old. And one of the greatest things that I learned is that it's hard to do things by yourself.
Okay.
The military in a whole has a system and a program in place where it structures you, it almost pressures you to actually have things in place as a family as well as a military member. And from that was having wills and things like that before you deploy. And a gentleman of myself coming from these neighborhoods, you don't think about a will. You know, you think about your will, but you don't think about a will and testament of leaving something behind. So I remember the very first time that I was going through the deployment line and you're filling out these things and they're asking these pertinent questions about if something shall happen to you, who's going to take care of your child and what does this go through? And you don't think about those things. So the very first lesson that I did learn in the sense of manhood was that walking through that deployment line and having to put your life in order.
Yes.
Through just a line.
Yes, sir.
Not weeks, not months, not years, but just a brief moment walking through a line. You have to think about your life.
17 minutes.
And then at the end of it, how does that culminate to those that succeed you? That was the very first important thing that grabbed a hold of me. But there's many, many more. When I left there and went over to Germany and 9/11 happened and life became real, because when you're in a foreign land and something's happening at home, everything becomes locked down and you start to be more observant. From deployments where you feel destitute and you see how you appreciate Walmart or just a store that may be open past 7 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
It's just these
sir.
wonderful things that just makes you appreciate life and what you have. Now, some people don't see things like I do. Some people just saw it as a job and a ways and means to get out. But every step along the way, it was something. But one of the most impactful things that changed my perspective from a global standpoint is I was TDY, and TDY is tour of duty, not to be confused with a deployment, to Konya, Turkey. And at that time, it was considered a practice. We used to practice with other foreign countries in air warfare. Turkey is one that we have which is considered a SOFA agreement with. So we went there, and it's called a red flag, but also Israel was there as well. Now, if you know anything about Turkey, and this specific place, Konya, Turkey, is one of their most holiest Islam cities or states in the world, because that is where Muhammad's temple was found. And one of the things that grasped me is that they would not allow the Israelis to leave the flight line. They had to pitch tents along the flight line. They could not travel along the base, simply because of who they were and what they believed versus who the Turkish were and what they believed. So it made me realize that no matter how we look, it's not so much how we look that defines what someone does not approve of. And many times in America, we think about black and white, and we make a lot of things black and white. But this was way beyond a black or white issue, because many of them looked alike.
Yes, sir.
This was more so what they truly believed and said that they were. So it kind of puts you on that note, because we're unified as a group, and when we go on missions, it didn't matter who I was with, a white guy, a black guy, a Hawaiian. We all had a mission, and we all worked together to get it done.
Yes, sir.
And then after that mission, we go back to our corners and do whatever.
Okay.
But we were all unified by a mission. And that's what I started to look at. And that was one of those defining moments in life when looking back at home, how we divide our communities.
Yes.
Is it really by color? Or is it by thought, or what we think we are, what we believe? So that was one of those things that started churning in my mind. But while I was there, one of the greatest things, whenever you go to a foreign country, they tell you don't go nowhere by yourself.
Okay.
Now, granted.
Okay.
Sometimes I have a hard head. You know,
Okay.
But I know in these areas, when I do go in groups, I become like the protector.
Okay.
I don't enjoy
Yes, sir.
myself.
Yes, sir.
So I venture off every now and then. And this time I did venture off. And
Uh-oh.
it wasn't bad. It was
Okay.
really
Okay.
enlightening, because I believe you attract what you think.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I attract peace and
Yes,
those
sir.
things. So I learned that in Turkey, they want to just sit down and talk to you.
Wow.
They want to give you some really, really hot tea and some warm Pepsi.
My goodness.
But they just want to communicate. They want to befriend you. They want to know
Yes,
how
sir.
you live and who you are, just like we're talking now. So I walk down many of alleyways off the main strips, and that's where like the locals would shop and things, and that's what I gravitated most to. So I
This
met
is so good.
several individuals, and I have many suits with stories that was made in those back alleys. But the trip actually, the pinnacle of it is when I seen this beautiful building, and by this time when I got there, I didn't know the significance of Konya, Turkey.
Okay.
I was just going. I was a
Yes, sir.
naive young adolescent and just going where they told me to go. But I see this beautiful building, which was a mosque. Really doesn't know the tradition, didn't know about Islam, never cared to really
Thank you.
entrust myself to it or even think about it, because it was not part of my upbringing. But I walk into this building. You know, it's nice. I'm exploring. You know,
Yes, sir.
just like any tourist in a sense.
Yes, sir.
But when I walk in this building, I see all these men praying, and they immediately stop when I walk in. and they all look at me. And then from that look, they stand up. And they don't stand up with smiles. They're looking at me, and they're all walking towards me. You're
Yes.
talking about hundreds of men.
Yes.
So the very first thing that pops in my mind is my flight commander saying, "Jackson, don't go nowhere by yourself."
Oh no, but this was
Right?
a
Don't go nowhere by
degree
yourself.
of respect.
Yeah,
But
he said,
please
"Don't go
ahead.
nowhere by yourself." So I'm
This is-
thinking like, man, I'm about to get into some trouble, you know.
No.
So they all rush towards me. You know, I hear a lot of yelling and things like that. And I'm thinking of commotion, like how I'm going to defend myself. I'm thinking we're about to really get into it. And then one person, probably after a couple of minutes, can speak English. He said, "Hey, take your shoes off."
Yes. Yes,
He said, "Take your shoes off."
that's right.
I took my shoes off. I had 200 hugs, and we had a great time. And that most definitely was just those pertinent things of honor and respect.
Wow.
Just that's all people want. They just want
My
to be
God.
respected. They want
Yes,
to be honored.
sir.
And most definitely, I had a great time. But I had many experiences, many not so much happy times like that, but some that actually were borderline pressing me to the edge where I wanted to break, but it wasn't to break me. It was just to strengthen me. But those were a few. And I don't know how much time we go, but I can keep talking about all these wonderful
let me
stories.
just
on
say
and on
this.
and on.
And by the way, DeQuay Wilson and Louis George Walker, if you have a comment and or a question, please just come. You already do? Is that? Please.
No,
Oh,
but just
okay.
absolutely, I will if something comes to mind.
Well, let me tell you what comes to mind with me. I am a civilian. I was blessed to be with an R&B singing group in Chicago, Illinois in the 1960s and 70s.
All right.
We did USO shows,
Okay.
and we went to Tokyo, Okinawa, Guam, the Philippines, Korea, Vietnam, and Thailand, and this was Vietnam during wartime.
All right.
You joined in 2000, Up Pops 9/11 in 2001. And I was wondering whether or not this many years after 1971, when I was there, one of the things that I found was that in fact, most of the foreign places we went, we were accepted and respected more by the foreigners who saw us as black people from America than when we returned home to our own country. What were your exploits as it relates to relationships? And that story tells one of them, because by your physical appearance, they're respecting you already.
Yes.
But did you find it difficult to negotiate foreign territory, or were they pretty kind to a black American?
I've never had an issue, never, not once, with
Thank you.
any countryman, and even when we were in the desert, whether it was Kuwait or Saudi Arabia, because you had Grecians there, you had all kind of what they called at that time third world nationals, or
Yes.
TCNs. Never had any issue with anybody, and I don't believe it was more so we just being Americans and they just wanted to know about us. I really believe that it was just simply what you bring to the table.
Yes, sir.
What are you presenting? And I am a person that I shod my feet, and my mindset is that I find peace wherever I go.
Wow.
I've seen enough disruptive things in my life as a
Praise
youth.
God.
I don't need to go nowhere else and kick up any dust.
Well, we will get to that because this is important and as well as interesting. By the way, DeQuay Wilson, one of the things that I was talking to my wife Wanda about before the program was my failure at the beginning of the program to say 816-599-6893. And that is a call-in number, and I never say it, and someone might indeed have a question and or a comment, so we'll open the lines for them should that be the case. 816-599-6893. Okay, as we continue,
Yes.
one of the reasons I thought of my wife and the number is because I had a conversation with my wife's brother, who is a dentist, Artist Clark.
Okay.
And he would go to Israel as a dentist with something akin to a doc on the block where they
Yes.
would offer services, medical services, dental service, and that kind of thing. And the black Hebrew Israelites suggested that when they were there in Israel, they could negotiate the territory between Israelites and Palestinians and were welcomed by both, which I think and which I thought was really pretty intriguing, but it helped me to understand worldwide how we are looked upon generally. But you said something that leads me to something more contemporary. This is where you grew up.
Yes.
This is, quote, territory, unquote. And as far as how you regarded your neighborhood, your growing up, your expectations for Leeds and or the area that brought you to Milton Moore School, is there a difference between what was going on when you were growing up and the young people, particularly young black men, but young people you are helping now as it relates to territory? What are the differences?
Absolutely, there's a difference, and anybody with eyes can see that through time the greatest enemy to any kind of culture or any family is division.
Okay.
The more we divide, the more we weaken.
Wow.
That's a cake. That's any kind of batter. The more you divide it and keep separating, and you just dilute it to where it's not as potent. So I believe through those years of so many things, and that when we look at what a family structure is and
Wow.
what a man is in a family, how diluted that is, how empowering it is for, and I'm not a feminist or male chauvinist, I don't divide, but I really believe that a man is a very, very important part of the structure of a neighborhood and family. And we see that in history. So the greatest thing that I see now is the less importance of the man in these
Ooh,
communities.
wow.
I'm not saying that they're not there. I'm not saying that they're not surrogates that are trying to usher things in. But I think the structure of family, and not that it's kind of hard to talk about things when you were somewhat a part of it as well, when you played a part in that same thing. But hindsight 2020, I can see that clearly now, that the structure of a man and having a child and even having the thought of it's okay not to be there
Wow.
is the first step of any kind of destructive pattern in a community
Yes, sir.
and a family. So all I see now more is that it has grown where the father, the man, is not as important, not just in the sense of if we go back to, we just came from Juneteenth and what that meant.
Yes, sir.
And how and I thought it was it's such a blessing how we can have Mother's Day, and then it flows into Father's Day, and then we come into Juneteenth.
Yes, sir.
And I think they all give a pattern that if it wasn't for the black woman holding on and thinking about the child, we probably would have failed short to a lot of things. But then we try to celebrate the father to build him back up, and then we have Juneteenth that talks about the destruction of both, how it tore down the black woman and actually separated the black father. But when it came to that, we can celebrate and say that we have freedom, so we can rest assured that we can be the men and fathers that many of us want to be,
Without
but don't
a
know
doubt.
how to be. But the question that you asked was more so to the point, do I see a difference?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Me and my mother had lunch yesterday, and she asked a question, why don't a lot of men just get together and just go in every street, and just
Yes,
talk,
sir.
just talk to the
Young people.
just talk to the young people.
Yes, sir.
Now, granted, I listen to my mother and I agree with her,
Okay.
but I do have my opinions.
Okay.
And I believe in me. I am a Christian. This is what I believe, and I believe many things in our lives are spiritual. And I think what we see, words are not powerful enough to change anybody's mindset or heart, because I don't believe there's nothing new or true that you can say to someone that they don't already know. You can't tell someone that they're hurting because they know they feel it. You
Yes,
can't
sir.
tell someone that they're struggling, why are you choosing less? Because they can see it. They can see one side of the city and another, so they know that they're struggling.
Let me ask.
Yes, sir.
I think you were part of the sponsorship or participation of an event recently. It might have been around Juneteenth, but you tell me, please.
Yes, that was it was a homage to fatherhood. It was I am a member of Harvest Church, and it was a bow tie
Yes,
brunch
sir.
dinner, and it was just a homage and honoring fathers
Okay.
to
Okay.
to uphold legacy and to know that you are the source and the main unity binder in the family.
Yes. Now-
That's main, just give an opportunity to, because sometimes, most definitely in many entities, the father is overlooked.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And again, if there is question and or comment, you made me think of something. I started teaching 7th and 8th grade
Mhm.
in 1964
Okay.
on the south side of Chicago, and worked with, in those days, they didn't even say sets. They said youth gangs.
Mhm.
Blackstone Rangers, the High Supreme Cobras, the Egyptian Cobras, and Vice Lords, and the Four Corners, and the Dell Vikings, and these were identified as youth gangs. This was in the 1960s.
Mhm.
And I found I was never a tough guy, but I was able to negotiate with gangs based upon my ability, indeed, to talk with them.
Absolutely.
More importantly than to speak with them was to listen to them.
Yes.
And when we talk about differences back in the day versus today,
Mhm.
I'm wondering whether or not that is the kind of thing that you saw the difference in when there might have been a reluctance to start up a conversation.
I think I really believe there's always been people that will sit down and talk to someone
Okay.
if they really wanted to talk to someone.
Yes, sir.
Whether it was in a school, I don't believe teachers, by large, are teaching because they don't care.
Okay. Good
So
point.
I really
Good
believe
point. I'm
I
glad
really
you said
I
that.
really believe that we were always surrounded by people that wanted the best for us, and that if we really just some points of our lives we have to get to a point where we want to receive it.
Yes, sir.
Just like the invitation was given to come here.
My God.
I could have passed it up.
Yes, sir.
But and when you take the invitation, you show up. That's when the conversation can really start.
Thank you very
so,
much.
So yes, I believe that there has to be an invitation. If there's an invitation, there has to be a body of people that presents it. So yes, there has to be people that reach out to youth, to talk to them, to give them a table in a space to speak their truth and what they believe.
Now, before we go to our midway break, one of the things that was so important to me, and I thank you for it so much, is your giving appreciation towards those who have chosen the profession of teaching.
Yeah.
Not only giving appreciation, but also suggesting and understanding that there are times when it is difficult to have that communications with young people, but it is not because they don't care.
Yes.
I get concerned about educators who go into the profession as a stepping stone towards something else. No, I am old school. I remember growing up where I would go into a 7th grade classroom, Brother Walker, and the teacher would say, "Oh, you're one of those Boyd boys. I had your brother. I had your uncle." Teaching was a career.
Mhm.
It was part of the family.
Absolutely.
And during the evolution of attempting to better oneself, there are some who would get into the profession as a stepping stone to another stepping stone. Our young people need some more permanent relationships
Absolutely.
that would court the kind of conversation about which you speak. Before we go to our mid-program break, let me ask Louis George Walker to give those who are listening or who might want to follow up information about what station you're on and what it's all about. Here's the founder, Louis George Walker.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you. So glad to have you in today, and it's a beautiful conversation. You're listening to KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station. KUAW stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. So we're here, and you can pick us up live on Facebook, on YouTube. You can also pick us up on the internet if you have the Get Me Radio or the online radio bot or My Tuner or Tune In app. You can pick us up there and listen to us in your car as you drive. You can also pick us up on the smart speaker. If you have a smart speaker like Google or Amazon, tell it to play KUAW. You can get us there. We're also broadcast live on KOJH, Kansas City's original jazz house. So we're here to bring you some educational, some information, blues, jazz, little bit of entertainment, and it's all right here at KUAW Radio, Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you. Here is DeQuay Wilson.
I have to say, today's show has flown by. I did not realize we were already at the halfway mark. It has been a great conversation. But I do want to remind our 7th through 12th grade students that you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, we do say organization, on purpose, with purpose, Stutes for Boots. Your essay title will be Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Your content will identify a veteran at your school who can be absolutely anyone, custodian, teacher, coach, cafeteria worker, absolutely anyone. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Waive Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary prize. For entry or inquiry, please contact academicpatriotism@gmail.com. That is academicpatriotism@gmail.com. Now back to our host, Carl Boyd.
And back to our very special guest, Cortez Jackson. Cortez Jackson, we thank you so much for being with us. If you had to define this one word, applying it to yourself, the word I am offering is ministry. And you're reaching out. What you do, if I were to call it ministry, how would you capture that in explaining? And as you contemplate, go right ahead.
Well, ministry is, I believe it's a living thing.
Yes, sir.
So it's ever evolving. My yesterday is not today, and my past is not my future. So when I see something that before me, I believe that whatever I have right now is for now and not so much for tomorrow.
Ooh, okay.
Nor do I take the ways of yesterday and apply them to today, more so just for learning. But I really believe that I have something fresh each day to give new because it's a new life.
Yes.
But overall ministry is just that of growth. It should be elevation. It should be something that most definitely culminates success. Even in some droughts and hard times that you see blooms and springs. I think it's just ministry is just the willingness to serve in a way that's freely. That you don't do it for gratification or looking for something back. It's just something that is natural that flows from you. No one knows why a bee will fly from one flower to the next, but we need them.
Yes.
In other things. So I believe a natural thing is for us just to serve one another, and that, in a sense, is free ministry.
And once again, if I should call upon that word, and you were asked to make a presentation, to participate in what you did with the bow tie affair and that kind of thing, what would be the format that you would use? Would it necessarily involve 3 or 4 people on a panel discussion? Do you also offer lectures? Do you teach classes? Those kinds of things.
In a sense of, if we're still on the topic of ministry, it's all of the above.
Okay, good.
It's never one dimensional.
Okay.
Especially when we talk about ministry, it's because there you have different structures and you have different things that have been anointed by God,
Yes, sir.
and there's different ways that they have to be given.
Okay.
Not every institution or structure that we use or source is for everyone.
My
so
God.
you have to open up your
Good
eyes, because
point.
sometimes when we have
Really good point.
a group or conference, there may be a handful of people that feel that they get nothing out of it. Vice versa, if it's just a small group, 3 or 4,
Yes.
it may be very impactful because everybody opens up.
Wow.
But I believe that it's not just one or the other, and I'm thankful for the leadership that we have there from Bishop Hout. And many leaders in my life, I've learned that God is not this or that.
Wow.
He's this and that.
Thank you.
It's not
Fantastic.
that over there or that over there. His truth is all truth.
Yes, sir.
And if I can take his word and impact this part of the world, it may not be for the other part.
Thank
But wherever
you.
I am, I believe God is. And from that, he will give me whatever necessary tools, whether it's just reciting a book
Yes, indeed.
written by the present author that's speaking here, or just anything.
Yes.
I think at that time, if he give it to me and I'm connected to his spirit, that most definitely to be impactful.
That being the case, then, is it all right to offer your contact information?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I am not a social media guy, nor do I put forth any information as to be someone that looks for followers. I'm just a practical guy. If you know
Okay.
me, you know me. But most definitely, I will leave my information here. And those that truly care to walk and really need something, I'm most definitely an individual that will show up.
But-
And the reason I say that is because I don't play church.
Mm.
I don't play community hero.
Yes, sir.
I am a son. I am a husband. I'm
Yes,
a
sir.
father. I'm an uncle. I'm a community member, and I'm a
Yes.
neighbor. And I love God. And from that, from all
Praise
those
God.
facets,
Yes.
I shall attempt to complete whatever mission that God puts me on. So I don't have any social medias or any handles
Okay.
to put out there. But I will leave general contact information, which is
Okay.
a simple telephone number.
Now, do you mind doing it on the air, or you want to somehow leave that with us?
I would
so that
leave
we
it
can
with you for those
project it?
individuals that want it. And what I know is if they want it, they will call in.
Yes, sir.
And that most definitely will start
Yes.
start that process.
816-599-6893. This is Wave Your Grades, KUAW.org. 2 words for you. Oh, by the way, Brother Walker.
Oh, yeah. I would like to say, as you're reaching young men, fathers, or those to be encouraged to be fathers, is reaching the young, is that more difficult in this day and age?
question.
Like you say, you're not on the internet or doing that, but how do you reach these young men? And I'm thinking like 19 to, say, 28, 30 years old.
Excellent.
How do I reach them, or how do I come in contact with them?
Yes,
Is that more so
yeah.
the question? Organically, just as much as me and Mr. Boyd were connected. I really believe that you said the word ministry, that we all have it. And if we are in the right place, and I believe that if my footsteps are gathered by God, I'm always in the right place at the right time.
Yes, sir.
I've had several young men just on job sites that would walk up to me just for general conversation because of how I looked, and they didn't believe that a man that looked like me would be on this job site, let alone the owner. That entailed something else for a conversation where I gave them opportunity to work, some of which still work with me, and I want to believe that I've imparted something to them. Now, with that being the other part of that question was, is it hard? Do you think it's harder between young and older? I think they both have their trials and tribulations, but they both have those monumental or even small victories. Patience is key for the youth. If you do not have patience, if you cannot see their greatness in the midst of where they are right now, you will never reach them, because you will only focus on what they're doing right now.
Okay.
And you'll want to deter and speak to it right now. You're not speaking to the man 10 years from now, or the father 10 years from now, or whatever. You're speaking to the issues now. So the greatest thing that I learned is that I don't speak to them now. I speak to the man who I see them to be,
Wow.
who I encourage them to be.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And if we do have
Yes,
a
sir.
mistake or something, we have to address it, but that's not the tell-all to this story.
Come on.
We're talking to you to 10 years from now, so I have to treat you that way. So just treating them with respect and honor to the man, or just the simple, because it's not whether it's a man or a woman, but speaking to them who you know them to be, and not simply valuing them. And now, granted, there are a few young men that I fired and hired and fired and hired, simply because there has to be a penalty to certain
Yes, sir.
things.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But once again, it's always, I've never unnecessarily punished or said some things that would just shut someone down. And that's what the youth need. They just
Okay.
need a consistent open road. Now, for those older ones, pretty much they set in their ways, but just like them, they want someone to speak into their life. Because many of us men did not really have people that ushered us in, that brought us up under their wings, or just gave us covering. And some of us don't know how to stay under covering. You know, we're used to being out and about. So when someone really is confident and really care about us, we always have a thought, what's their ulterior motive, what they want from me. And that leads into a whole nother year of unnecessary going back and forth, when we could have been miles ahead, but we're trying to gain trust between one another.
Yeah.
So it just comes, for me, it's just value. It is hard with older individuals, because they're set in their ways and they have a default that is true, that they go back to. But the young ones, it's just simple patience. It's more so patience and seeing them where they're going. And I don't know if I hit every.
No, I think that covered
Question that
it
you
real
gave.
well and stuff, because I know talking to young people, you have, and even especially, I should say, young people in your family, because they know you, and then sometimes it's a little. It's sometimes they're open, but sometimes no, because
Yeah.
you gonna
Absolutely.
run tell mom or something and stuff like that. So yeah.
I think it's that there of trust, meaning they can open up to you without you spreading what they entrust to you. That becomes something from a character trait.
And time.
And each person, don't carry that same thing. Now, there are pertinent things, just like any kind of caregiver. We have confidentiality. But
Yes,
when
sir.
it's something that's destroying you and those we have to have
Ooh.
wisdom into being able to usher in a communication with those that can either divert this situation, or most definitely protect themselves from being hurt as well,
Yeah.
without destroying the communication or relationship with that person. But everything is sensitive, and everything is those one-off relationships from one to the another. Not how I deal with, and let's just say a fictitious name, Anthony, may not work with James. But the same goal is for them to reach their full potential. And we just have to be kind and mindful that how we treat one another most definitely forms or can destroy that bond of trust. And once that's destroyed, it's so hard to build back up.
Well, I think that I might know the answer to the question based upon the tenor of the conversation, but I'm going to give you two words. Help me with them.
Absolutely.
Pessimism, optimism. Cortez is a good name. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, man. Gosh.
So important.
Man.
2025.
Yes. So even if we did not have to, and I'm gonna glaze over those two words,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and not that I'm glazing over them, but
No, please.
just in a sense of, we have to know who we are. You have to know who you are, and many sacrifices that came before you to allow you to have the platform that you have, or
Okay.
So when it comes to pessimism and optimism,
Yes.
they're both needed because they both can be motivational. They both can be motivational
Yes.
just as much as anger can destroy something, and most definitely can build something of greatness.
Thank you.
You can't have one without the other.
Yes, sir.
But how we apply it,
Yes, sir.
whether it's coming out of us or we're receiving it, those are the greatest things. That's the balance of those two words for me, is understanding who I am. So if I'm receiving either one, it doesn't push me over the edge either way.
And
I'm not over optimistic. I'm in balance, and that other stuff. It doesn't bother me as much. And just how I'm speaking to other individuals.
without
Now,
a doubt.
I'm very optimistic. And matter of fact, that was to some of my peers and leaders in the military. They said that was one of my hindrances because I was always optimistic.
Now,
you know.
that's interesting that they
Yes.
would suggest that, because I would suspect, and you can correct me if I'm
Mhm.
wrong, that the first assessment of optimism being something that might not be totally positive,
Mhm.
my suspicion is if they got to know you long enough,
Mhm.
they became a lot closer to the way you felt about it
Absolutely.
than initially.
Yes, it changed many areas,
Yes.
many cultures, many shops that I was in, simply because of that. But when we are a cultivator, or we are indoctrined to only focus on the temperature, and a message was just given here recently about you're either a thermostat or a thermometer.
Okay.
And it's so impactful in the sense of that's just what it is. Some
Yes,
people
sir.
are just murmurers.
Yes, sir.
And they can't see past or see the future. And it goes back to the question that was posed when we're speaking to our youth. We can either tell everybody what's going on, or we can actually start adjusting things.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
think the
please.
same thing holds true for adults as well.
Absolutely.
Patience is required.
Absolutely.
Adults can change. Does it take a little bit longer? Yeah, maybe so. But patience is required with adults because, well, not necessarily because, but because you don't know what was poured into that child
Mm-hmm.
that is now the adult.
Absolutely.
Come on.
And
Ooh, yes.
they can still be taught.
Absolutely.
They can still learn.
Mhm.
So those same things, those same nurturing characteristics with children, applied to children, should also be applied to adults. When you think about perfection, none of us are perfect. You show me a perfect person, I will in turn show you a fraud.
Absolutely.
None of us are perfect.
Thank you.
That same love, care, concern that we pour into our youth is also required for our adults, for our older people, because we don't know what happened to them to cause them to be who they are
Mhm.
as adults.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I'm sorry.
No. I agree with. I totally agree. But I would just add to that. Yes, it doesn't. The motive and what we're doing does not change. But I do believe there is a. By trade, I was a aircraft structural maintainer,
Wow.
a maintenance man.
Yes, sir.
And we deal with metal and fiberglass and composites, all those things. And when you're working with metal, there is a malleable state of it, meaning where it can be bent and maneuvered. But once you temper it, once you put a little heat to it and it changes and it hardens, you can only bend it so much before it cracks. So I believe children are a lot more malleable than adults. And even if we think about life, change for an adult happens many times when they either in destitute or they come to a point where they know that they can't do it on their own no more. And sometimes you have to let them get to that point so that they can receive. Because if you press too much, you will break a relationship. And a child is different. They're more resilient. They can bend and fold and keep going. But when you take on life and you keep taking it on and things are not addressed at a younger age, you have to, now the thought process of patience and all those things you said, it doesn't change. Love conquers all, and they desire it and they need it. But the tactics in which we go about it, it has to be at the point where they want to receive it.
I agree
Because
with
if you
you.
press, it'll break. And I see so many relationships, just in my family. I speak personally. My family, this, and people, when you're an adult, you can separate yourself. And many times we think that's the greatest healer is if I just separate myself. I'm block you or cut you off or all these other things. A child, they don't really think like that.
Wow.
They'll come back to the table. Adults, once something is cracked or over pressure, you might not talk to them for years.
Yeah, but you may talk to them later.
You might, yeah. You may. And I'm not.
Let me-
hardest
and this is,
Let me
this
tell
is-
you.
Yeah, this is not a debate as to what, but
No,
I'm
no,
saying
no.
the very same thing a child needs, an adult needs.
Well, let
One
me
of the greatest. I'm sorry.
let me tell you
Yes, sir.
the authentic
Mm-hmm.
experience that Brother Louis George Walker and I have and are having on this afternoon. And I want to, Brother Walker, share it without my prayer, appearing to be patronizing in any way. But we have the privilege and the honor of sharing this arena with DeQuay Wilson.
Okay.
And you have met DeQuay Wilson this afternoon.
Yes.
When you leave where we are, if someone were to ask who she is, your impression, what the experience was, I mentioned that you have a really good name because her son's name was Cortez,
Okay.
and unfortunately suffered to a homicidal situation. The reason I talk, Brother Walker, about our privilege is because we would never go away feeling negative.
Mm-hmm.
We would never go away feeling as though there is something inadequate. You would never know except for my telling you this
Absolutely.
about DeQuay Wilson, and that is so important, so compelling, and so helpful to us that I just wanted you to know that.
I greatly appreciate that,
So-
and most definitely my condolences. So the question, I mean, you did pose a question. What would I think? And it doesn't change. If I
Thank
seen
you.
you before we even met,
Come
before I
on.
even knew that,
Yes, sir.
it goes back to what I
Yes,
say.
sir.
I value you because you would not have been placed in my journey or my walk. So I'm careful in the sense of what I say and how I embrace people. Now, granted, when I first walked in, I would have loved just to hug everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know everybody's space.
Yes,
you don't know
sir.
everybody's space.
Thank you.
But we do, in the sense of basically what she said, we do also require that touch. And I think through that touch of one another, of embracing one another, we impart things as well.
Well, why?
So we can say those things that it never changes. A child needs to be hugged, an adult needs to be embraced and know their value too. But my heart is with you.
Well, let me
But thank
say.
you for sharing that.
Oh, yes, sir. No, let me say this unequivocally,
Mhm.
and here again, I can speak for Brother Louis George Walker, but in this instance, and for DeQuay Wilson, because while that physical motion did not take place,
Mhm.
believe us, you hugged all of us in this conversation, in this visit, in this honesty, in the candor that you present, and that is greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Now, the time, as DeQuay said, gets away, but I want to position something that is so important in this day. When you hear two words, breaking news, it's not often that you are expecting something great to have occurred. We are in the throes of an era where there is much violence. Communications are vitriolic and insulting, even to the point that we have the top level of government in the world uttering about other powers with profanity in front of our children, and we are concerned about bringing peace to the community. So all the way from Leeds to the White House, to NATO, when I talk about this issue of pessimism versus optimism. Before we get off of this program on this day from Cortez Jackson, if you gave us our marching orders, if you said this is the kind of thing that must be done, and we don't want to leave this show without you saying what is critical for you to impart, what might that be?
That the promise, we all have a promise. We all have a promised
Come on.
land.
Yes, sir.
And many of the chosen people never made it to their promised land
Ooh.
for simple things.
Yes, sir.
For simple things.
Wow.
It's always easy to set your eyes upon a position, whether it's a president, whether it's a father or mother,
Come on.
because they're an easy target. Not to speak kindly of what is being said or to defend it, but simply not to be in a judgmental state of my own, other than to ensure that I'm taking care of my house,
Mm.
that I am speaking the truth in my house,
Mhm.
that I am doing my civil servant duty in my community. How many times do we really assess what we say? Do we ever record our day and then go back and filter it and get the things that can be interpreted one way or the next and then redefine it and ask everybody else's opinion? Now, granted, I am not one to speak ill about our country or to about our leadership or anything like that. But he is our leader.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we want to argue or debate it, he is our leader, and I am one person that will pray for whoever is over me.
Oh, you better.
I'm praying for his mind, his most definitely the people that are around him that may speak truth or hold things at bay. But when
Wow.
it all comes down to where I'm at now, it still has to be in a sense of for each individual to right themselves. Am I in right standing?
This is so very important as a
Am I
man.
in right standing?
When my wife will tell you that I often respond when we look at what is going on, and it is daunting as it relates to whether or not we are going to move forward
Yes.
or experience something that might be unfortunate. And some people even take you to Revelation. Some people even take you to the last times. They talk about all of these wars and rumors of wars and families not being able to get together. And Wanda will tell you, I always go to 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and
Yes.
pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked
Yes,
ways,
Lord.
then will I hear from heaven, then will I forgive their sin, then will I heal the land.
Mm.
My responsibility is less to find fault than it is to do good, however difficult that might be. So I want you to know how encouraging it is to have this kind of conversation, and had asked for that remark from you. And as we approach the end of the program, I want to turn it over to DeQuay Wilson as we work towards the end, but also whatever's on your heart.
Absolutely.
On your heart, on my heart,
On your heart.
just that we should love one another. That's really what is on my heart, that we should, there's so much hate
Ooh.
in this country, in this world, that we should just love one another and practice loving one another. Love yourself, love your God, love your neighbor, love. We need to love one another and show. Love is an action word. It is not
Ooh.
saying that I love you. It is showing you that I love you by being there for you, by doing my best to provide what you need, by living my life as an example of how you should, like, again, you show me a perfect person, I'll show you a fraud, but we should all strive for perfection.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we are striving for perfection, we are behaving ourselves in a way that is representative of what we should do, and it shows another what they should do.
My God.
So I think the focus should be on love. That's
Absolutely.
what's on my heart.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very much, Cortez Jackson. Don't be
Absolutely. Thank
surprised
you for the
if you're called
opportunity.
upon again.
Absolutely. I'm more than willing.
Praise God. Louis George Walker. And here is DeQuay.
I would like to thank our guests, our listeners, our viewers for joining us on your Stutes for Boots Wave Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center right here in Kansas City, Missouri. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now our host, Carl Boyd, will close with his daily message for students in honor of our veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
Thank you so very, very much. To students across the USA, your Stutes for Boots message for this day, June 28th. Have a safe and productive summer. When you return to school, you'll pass, as imitating our warriors' attention to duty has helped you to stay on task. This is June 28th, 2025, thanking Cortez Jackson, thanking Louis George Walker and DeQuay Wilson. Carl Boyd saying, gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.